As someone who greatly appreciates story-driven narratives of any kind, I was delighted by my experience with the game Oxenfree. I think I can recall seeing it compared to Night in the Woods, one of my favorite games of all time, and I think that was what really made me want to check it out. I also played the sequel, Oxenfree II Lost Signals. There are many aspects of the games to praise and discuss, so let's just get into it. There will be major spoilers, by the way. What really carries the games is how character-driven they are. The characters all feel like real people, largely due to the game's excellent writing and voice acting. They're also color-coded, which of course is always a superior choice. They all have complex emotions to work through in difficult life situations that they're dealing with. By being honest with one another, they grow closer and come to understand one another on a deeper level. Of course, how or even whether this ends up happening is determined by the player's choices. One thing that made the experience of the games feel realistic is the fact that the main characters, Alex for the first game and Riley for the second, are almost always given multiple possible responses to various prompts, and if they don't answer within a certain time frame, the options disappear. In real life, you may think of multiple ways to respond to something in the moment, and you have to use your opportunity to speak before the conversation or situation inevitably moves on. The characters will also have the opportunity to bring up a particular topic more than once. Many of the possible responses conflict with one another, and anyone would realistically be conflicted about many of the things the characters encounter. Riley and Alex both have a set personality, but are also dynamic, and the variety of options make them come across as relatable to anyone who might be playing the game, no matter what kind of person they are. At least for the first game, there's even an achievement to be earned by never selecting any responses at all before they disappear for the entire duration of the game. Because there are multiple options that all have the potential to determine how the story goes, players are inherently encouraged to play through each game more than once. A total of 3 playthroughs would allow the player to choose every possible dialogue option. The developers must have noticed this because they added new Game Plus content sometime after the first game's initial release, where the narrative acknowledges that the story has played out before. That's another thing about these games, they're aware of the player's presence. It's not quite on the level of One Shot or Undertale, but it has its fair share of meta moments. One fixed point of the narrative that gets handled in an interesting set of ways is the fact that Alex's brother Michael previously died. This event affects Alex's relationship with 2 particular characters. First of all, it's the reason that Jonas becomes her stepbrother since it caused her parents' divorce. It also gives her a way to relate to and understand Jonas because he lost his mom. It definitely affects Clarissa's attitude towards Alex, since Clarissa blames her for the circumstances that led to Michael's death, whom she was dating at the time. The player can choose for Alex to reveal the truth early on, but even if they don't, Clarissa forcibly reveals it later. In the flashback where Alex, Michael, and Clarissa are hanging out together with the latter 2 dating, Clarissa doesn't have her sour attitude towards Alex, making it almost certain that her grief is the reason why she acts the way she does in the present. Michael can be brought back to life, his death erased from the timeline, if the player makes certain choices. I kinda see it as the right thing to do, because even if Alex and Jonas never become step-siblings and form a relationship based on that, Michael doesn't have to die so tragically young. There's definitely some pretty deep lore involving the ghosts of the sunken Kanaloa submarine, much of which is left open to player interpretation. It's never really revealed whether they truly died or were just transformed to become incorporeal when the nuclear reactor incident happened. There is mention of them supposedly consuming the souls of the main team if their possession becomes successful, which could be interpreted a number of different ways. In any case, it would most likely involve the victim's individual consciousness being absorbed into the collective of all the deceased passengers. It's even hinted that the actual spirit of Jonas's mom was behind the tape players that save the characters from the time loops, or at least the very last one to appear, since Jonas claims he can specifically hear her voice in that one. According to my own theory, the flashbacks with Michael could even be his spirit trying to use the island's time anomalies as a way to contact Alex and help her. There's also some implication that the ghosts find some sort of peace if Alex reasons with them, reminds them of who they were. The whole thing is just really fun to theorize about, and I don't mind at all that it keeps me guessing. I definitely respect the game's allowance of the story to unfold in a non-linear progression, where the player is free to go back to other locations to look for clues and things that they might have missed at their leisure. What's more to appreciate about the games are their soundtrack and usage of leitmotif. When I played the first Oxenfree game, I didn't get the impression that it warranted a sequel, but the second game does address some loose ends left by the first game's story. The first game does have multiple endings, and the second game follows up on one of those endings in particular, where Alex chooses to close the portal from the inside. I never got that ending any of the times I played the first game, so I had to use context clues to figure out what was supposed to have happened to those characters. It was a cool twist how the ghosts that initially appear in Oxenfree II are actually revealed to be the kids from the first game instead of the Sunken. Speaking of the Sunken, the second game addresses details of the story that the player might not have caught on to when playing the first game, such as the fact that the Kanaloa was sunk by friendly fire. I enjoyed seeing the friendship and trust that developed between Riley and Jacob. Riley's pregnancy came as a complete surprise to me, especially considering all the physical activity such as rock climbing that she does throughout the game, and the fact that she's apparently far enough along to know that she's having a boy. She's obviously decided to keep the baby and is determined to be the best mother she can be, even if she can't be perfect, as we see from the glimpses into her future when her son Rex is growing up. I know that Riley would have that commitment even if she hadn't seen her future though. She may give off a tough exterior, but she cares about helping others and wants to make a positive impact. Oxenfree 2 had a good amount of action and suspense, some taking place in real time, and also introduced some interesting new game mechanics such as the tears in time. Having most of the game set on the Kamina coast surrounding Edwards Island was an apt way to expand the game's world building, but of course it made sense to eventually return to the island since it is ultimately the epicenter of the story's events. Riley being an adult as opposed to Alex being a teenager also gives us a different way of viewing and experiencing the game's world. Unlike in the first game where Alex could find a way out of the situation with the Sunken, Riley must make a choice of who to send through the portal to close it from the other side. Even though not everyone makes it out, I'm glad that it ends up freeing the characters from the first game and that Alex and Riley become friends, bringing the narratives of the two games together and the overall story to a nice conclusion. I enjoyed the epilogue scene with the box of items that were important to Riley and the message about it from Alex. If you've played the Oxenfree games, what did you think of them? Do you agree with the speculations I discussed in this video, or have any of your own? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. If you haven't already, check out the rest of my channel where I talk about lots of different games and media. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.